Ma. Welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you so much, Your Worship.
Okay.
I'm grateful to have the opportunity to address Council tonight, and I'd like to do so by telling Council a story. Anna was 17 years old when she first became pregnant with her first child. Coming from the family that she did, there was no question at that point that she would be wed to the child's father, a man who, unbeknownst to her at the time, ended up being literally twice her age. The pregnancy and the marriage interrupted her studies, and she wasn't able to graduate from high school with her peers. Life would be difficult for Anna in the years following. She would go on to have several more children, and though she loved her children, having them so young meant that it would be years and years before she found the time and the space to do what many of her peers were able to accomplish as a matter of course. Things like get her diploma, earn her driver's license, or be able to leave her house without permission from her husband. Her husband, who she was completely financially dependent on, who restricted her movements, who controlled which friends she could see, who prevented her from being in touch with her parents. But what options did she have other than to stay where she was? As someone with no income, no job prospects, and not a moment's rest from the obligations of parenthood so young, she could hardly dream of better days, let alone find a way to reach for more. How could she care for her children on her own? She couldn't. And bringing children with her into homelessness was a surefire way to lose them. Now, though I hesitate to share too many details or to use her real name, Anna's story is real. And what's more is that Anna's story is sadly not unique. And for those children whose mothers dared to leave their toxic environments only to find themselves taken away into the foster care system, those children will become 200 times more likely to become homeless as adults. And that's 19 years old in comparison to their peers, 200 times. And what can be said then of any children that they have? A project like yours, a project like the one before you, one that supports women and their families, can turn the future of a family around and prevent trauma that can follow them through generations. And even for those women without children, those who will fill the one-person units, who knows how many are looking for a way out of a vulnerable living situation, for a way out of a desperate circumstance, for a way back to their families and back into society as a person who sees value in themselves and the value of themselves to others. But I didn't come here to tell you what you already know. I know that you know that a project like this that values women and women-led families regardless of their socioeconomic background, a project that recognizes the unique vulnerability of women who are at risk of living on the streets, and one that recognizes addiction as a health issue and refuses to discriminate against someone for it. I know that you know that this is critically important to people who are struggling in our community. What I did come here today as, I came here today as an MLA with constituents whose lives will be changed for the better by a project like this, and as a neighbor that looks forward to welcoming this project into the area in which I live, in order to thank you for your courage in moving this project forward as a council and to be here to support you in doing the right thing. Folks have offered a lot of quotes that said similar to what Coretta Scott King said, which is that the greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. And your compassionate actions today in standing up for those who have the least power among us I know are what our community will come to be proud to be measured by. Thank you.
Thank you, MLA Ma.